It's very, very strange when you think about it. Justin Trudeau allowed a literal Nazi to appear. Yes, we're still talking about this. He allowed a literal Nazi to appear in the House of Commons, and they gave him 2 standing ovations. Then he went into hiding for about 4 days, delivered a half-ass apology that didn't take any responsibility or accountability for his actions. In fact, he said as a whole Parliament or everybody in the House apologizes, and it's not really on everybody to apologize. It's on Justin Trudeau. It's not hard to look into the camera and say, I'm the leader of the country and I messed up and I'm sorry. I will do better. Justin Trudeau doesn't do that. He always beats around the bush. And then, since his apology, he has gone back into hiding. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Today we're taking a look at the highlight reel of Question Period, where, I mean, they just really ream into Trudeau. Where's Trudeau? I did not see that coming. Speaking of I did not see that coming, go down in the description or the pinned comment below to grab your I did not see that coming sticker. Now, there's only like a few hundred left. They have very, very much sold out multiple times. I keep having to restock the inventory. I don't know what you guys are going to do. Some of you have ordered. I think the biggest order I saw was last night. It was like 25 stickers. So shout out to you know who you are for 25 stickers. I don't know if you're planning on putting them on like gas stations or on Parliament buildings. Absolutely hilarious. The support is much appreciated. And here we go. You're going to want to like the video. You're going to want to check to see if you're subscribed and turn post notifications on so it adds a layer of insurance so you can be notified of upcoming videos. Sit back, relax, and watch this shit show. Conservative members ream into the Liberals. It's a beauty. Here we go.
Oral
questions. Question honorable leader of the opposition.
The Prime Minister is seen as a clown around the world at the moment.
Yeah, he is.
Whether you blame the former Liberal Speaker of the House for having recognized a former Nazi in Parliament, or whether you don't, well, either way, it took 5 days for the Prime Minister to stop hiding and avoiding his responsibility to defend Canada's reputation.
But whether you blame him or the Liberal Speaker for recognizing a Nazi on the floor of the House of Commons, we all agree that it took him 5 days while he hid under a rock and let our reputation be torn to tatters.
Wow.
Why was he more concerned about protecting his personal reputation rather than defending the nation's?
Wow. Right out the gate.
Honorable Leader, Chambre du Gouvernement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, he's hiding behind a pregnant woman again.
Parliament actually recognized that it was the Speaker's responsibility. That's why they called upon him to resign, and that's why he did resign. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
And for 5 days, the Prime Minister was in hiding. And he's in hiding from answering my questions today about the people who are starving. We've got 7 million Canadians who are not eating enough because of the price of food. 1.5 million going to food banks. Food banks across this country have lineups that go around the street never before seen. The middle class hungry is the new phenomenon the Prime Minister has brought us after 8 years in power. His solution? A radical quadrupling of the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre on the farmers and truckers who bring us our food. Will he finally adopt the Conservative common sense plan to axe the tax to bring home affordable food?
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Actually, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to put the question to the opposition as to whether they will actually support Bill C-56, which is before the House, and instead of voting against every measure that goes to support Canadians, whether it is senior citizens, whether it is workers, whether it is small businesses, Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives have a choice, and we urge them to vote in favour of Bill C-56. Thank you.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
We've made our choice. We will axe the tax to bring home.
Hey, his hair looks pretty good today.
Interestingly, Liberal members of Parliament from Atlantic Canada tell their constituents that they agree with me and not with the Prime Minister. When they're on the home front, they tell their constituents that they're on the Conservatives team to axe the carbon tax. But when they come here, they seem to forget their spinal cords at home and vote for the Prime Minister to quadruple the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre, which also applies to home heating. Will these Atlantic MPs find a spine, vote with us, axe the tax to bring home lower prices?
Clark Kent is right.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, residents of Edmonton Centre, indeed, Albertans across the province wrote to me about the fact that this summer, Mr. Speaker, like so many summers before, and going back, Mr. Speaker, they couldn't breathe the air this summer because of forest fires, Mr. Speaker. And what do the Conservatives want to do, Mr. Speaker? They want to cancel the childcare benefit. They want to pull the CCB. They want to chop, chop, chop. This is the party of slash and burn. They're going to slash programs and let the planet burn. Shame on them.
Leader of the official opposition.
We're going to chop the carbon tax, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, buddy. Axe the tax.
Member, just like his NDP coalition partners have betrayed Albertans who are ripped off by this carbon tax, just like people right across the country. That member, just like the NDP, decided to betray his constituents and vote for the Prime Minister's plan to dig deeper in the pockets of hardworking people. Will they abandon their reckless plan to quadruple the tax to 61 cents a litre and vote for our motion to do it next week?
The Honourable Minister.
I'll tell you what's reckless is the Conservative ideology that somehow pausing renewable projects is a good strategy. Mr. Speaker, I can tell you people in my riding and in our province want us to lean in. They want clean electricity. They want reasonable electricity. They want hydrogen plants. Mr. Speaker, they want to be part of the economy of the future. These guys want to slash and burn. Shame on them. We're here to deliver for Albertans and for Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the official opposition.
Monsieur le Président, aujourd'hui, le chef...
Mr. Speaker, today the leader of the bloc lost it because we highlighted the fact that on June 5th he voted to implement the second carbon tax, which applies to Quebec. He lost it because we mentioned the fact that one of his members, and I'm quoting, wants to radically increase the carbon tax on the backs of Quebecers. And I think he's going to lose it again in a few moments. I'm sure of it. Will the Prime Minister keep working with the leader of the Bloc Québécois and keep increasing taxes on the backs of Canadians?
Oh, my God.
What Quebecers know is that in 2023, it makes no sense that a party that aspires to govern the country has no plan to fight climate change. The only proposal that the Conservatives have is to cut programs that help people make ends meet and to make polluting free once again, even though we just went through our worst wildfire season. It's irresponsible. And that is a choice we'll never make, to risk the future of the country on the Conservatives.
Mr. Speaker, I listened carefully yesterday to the Prime Minister's apology in the House. He did not apologize on behalf of the government or on behalf of Canada. He apologized on behalf of the House, but a Prime Minister does not speak for the House. A Prime Minister speaks for the government or for Canada. Yesterday in this House, he did not apologize on behalf of either for the embarrassment and shame of the government's mismanagement of an official state visit. Why?
Because he's a coward and wants to bring everyone down.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague knows perfectly well that the Prime Minister issued an apology on behalf of all of us, because those of us that were present here in this chamber on Friday all stood unbeknownst to any of us that this individual were to be here or that he would be recognized by the Speaker. I think all of us feel a deep shame about this, and had we known otherwise, not a single one of us would have stood and applauded this individual. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Wellington, Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, for 5 days, the Prime Minister let Canada's reputation wither. For 5 days, the Prime Minister did not apologize. And when he did, It wasn't on behalf of the government or on behalf of Canada. It was on behalf of Parliament, for whom he does not speak. Why did he avoid speaking on behalf of himself, the government, or Canada?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the member opposite knows perfectly well, as soon as this was discovered, the Prime Minister spoke about how deeply hurtful this was to all parliamentarians, indeed all Canadians, particularly all communities who were impacted by the Holocaust. Conversations and apologies were made through diplomatic channels immediately upon knowing about this. And as soon as the Speaker admitted his responsibility, took responsibility, the Prime Minister issued his apology. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Anyone who took out a 5-year, $500,000 variable rate mortgage in 2021 is now paying up to $24,000 more in interest a year.
Oh my God, dude.
Telling everyone, borrow as much as you want. Interest rates will be low for a very long time.
Yeah, he lied to Canadians.
It was for her to pour hundreds of billions of dollars of fuel on the inflationary fire, giving them the most rapid interest rate hikes not seen in the last 3 decades. After 8 years of this incompetency, they're just not worth the cost anymore. When will the Prime Minister finally balance the budget so interest rates can come down and Canadians can keep a roof over their heads?
The Honourable Minister of Housing.
Mr. Speaker, I find the honourable member's newfound interest in building more homes for Canadians fascinating when he's got a history of voting against measures that will build more homes for Canadians. Mr. Speaker, I'd point out to the honourable member that officials at Finance Committee yesterday confirmed the Conservative proposal will build fewer homes than the measures we have introduced already. Why is the honourable member's plan to cut funding for home building and to raise taxes for home builders? It's not going to work. There are members who will work to build homes for Canadians, and they sit on the government side of the House.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
So the guy responsible for breaking immigration is now responsible for breaking housing even further in this country. I've built more homes than their government combined. That's right. So I would
Drop a W in the chat, folks.
It's gone up 43% since then to a whopping 4%. Their interest rates, the interest rates went up because of their high deficits. When will they finally balance the budgets so Canadians don't lose their homes?
Damn.
In typical Conservative fashion, he's ignoring the homes that we built over the last number of years for low-income people. The reality is, when I look at the plans that they...
You got owned, Fraser. Where's the million people, bro?
I'm really having trouble hearing.
You lost 1 million people. Where are they?
It's fascinating, Mr. Speaker, when we make the point that things, all they have to do is yell. The reality is the plan they have put forward...
I bet you did not see that coming.
...that it is written on. Their plan is literally to cut funding to build homes and to raise taxes on the people who will build them. It will not work, Mr. Speaker. We are going to put measures forward that change the financial equation for builders. We are going to change the way that cities build homes, and we're going to build the workforce to get it done.
Mr. Speaker, former Bank of Canada Governor David Dodge said the burden of past debts are catching up with us, and governments cannot spend their way out of problems. Except the issue for this government is every problem that they see, the solution is to spend more money. And everybody now knows that when the government spends money, the Bank of Canada raises its interest rates. When the Bank of Canada raises its interest rates, Canadian mortgage holders pay more. So will the government finally rein in its out-of-control deficits so Canadians can keep their homes?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank my colleague from the Finance Committee for his question. As he well knows, all of the rating agencies have reconfirmed our AAA credit rating, Mr. Speaker. But what I would like to address is the fact that the Conservative members are oddly silent when it comes to investments that our government has made in order to attract companies like Northvolt, which just announced today, Mr. Speaker, that it is coming to Canada. It could have gone to California. It could have gone to anywhere else around the world. But it has decided to partner with our federal government in order to install a brand new company right here in Canada. That will create thousands of jobs for Canadians who need them. That is us working for Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Simcoe North.
Mr. Speaker, while households are struggling with higher mortgage and interest costs, the Canadian taxpayer is going to get sideswiped. That's because this year the government has to borrow over $420 billion just to satisfy their spending and deficits. It also expected to pay almost $44 billion in servicing the debt, except that is down by the end of this year, except interest rates have gone up. So will the Minister of Finance stand up and tell Canadians how much taxpayers are on the hook because interest rates haven't come down by the end of this year, except interest rates have gone up. So will the Minister of Finance stand up and tell Canadians...
I don't know what's happening with the feed, folks.
Because interest rates haven't come down.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I spoke with a mother in my riding who is wondering how much a Conservative government would cost.
Thanks for the bless you in the chat.
Our government has been supporting
oh, shit. Thank you.
Through this difficult time.
There we go. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance. You can start again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Obviously, I've hit a nerve with the Conservatives here because when I spoke to a member of my constituency, when I spoke to this mother, she was concerned.
I must be allergic to all of this bullshit.
The Conservatives' plan would cost her. You see, she is relying on the Canada Child Benefit, which continues to go up because it is indexed to inflation. She is relying on the supports of our government. She is relying on the construction of new homes that our government is committed to build. And this Conservative Party is nowhere to be found.
No part. The Honourable Member for Kenora.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of the NDP Liberal government, inflationary spending is driving up the cost of living and interest rates to the point where people are worried that they might lose their home. The more this government spends, the more inflation grows and the higher interest rates get. Now with mortgage interest costs up 31%, it is clear, Mr. Speaker, that this government, that this Prime Minister, is not worth the cost. So when will
we're screwed?
Control and put an end to their out-of-control spending so that Canadians can keep a roof over their heads?
Yeah, so Canadians can buy a roof for their heads. Holy smokes, man.
The member is concerned about making sure Canadians have a roof over their head. I find it curious that he seems to be supporting a plan that has been described as being so unaware of the scale or urgency of the housing crisis that it's come up with measures such as a snitch line to rat out your neighbors. He's put forward measures.
This guy talking, Sean Fraser, lost 1 million people when he was immigration minister
Build homes. That
last year.
More homes. He's proposing a plan that's going to result in cuts to the funding that is supporting home building. We are going to change the financial equation for builders by putting incentives forward. We are going to change the way that cities build homes, and we're going to continue to make investments so that the most vulnerable people in our communities do have a roof over their head. There is one party in this House who is committed to building homes for low-income families and for the middle class, and we are right here.
The Honourable Member for Kenora.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister talks about the urgency of addressing a crisis that him and his government has created. Not just homeowners who are struggling.
Create the problem, sell the solution.
Young adults have given up completely on their dream of home ownership. In Toronto, students are paying $1,500 a month for one bedroom. Not a one-bedroom apartment, Mr. Speaker, but one individual bedroom within a shared apartment has caused to stop their out-of-control spending so that Canadians can afford a home.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Natural Resources.
The Nazis are messing with the feed, folks.
Affordability is our top priority, and I'll give another example here to the member. In my constituents, Danielle and Hélène Gingras from my riding of Nickel Belt, Northern Ontario, took advantage of the Greener Homes program to help cover the cost of the installation, and they're now saving hundreds of dollars a month on their energy bill, while at the same time reducing emissions. Addressing affordability and fighting climate change go hand in hand. Canadians know that the leader of the
rebates are like $35 a month or some shit.